Hello, this video is on paradoxes in game theory. My PhD is in operations research, which includes game theory, and in designing the game Paradoxical, I did some further investigation on paradoxes of game theory, which I thought I would share. Paradoxes. Paradoxes are captivating logical mysteries that have an inexplicable or contradictory aspects. Paradoxes are conditions that seem contradictory, but are nonetheless true. The word paradox derives from the Greek meaning distinct from para, and our opinion, doxa. In 1961, logician philosopher Willard van Orman Quine outlined three categories of paradoxes. A falsidical paradox is surprising, but it is a false alarm if the underlying fallacy is solved. They seem false and are false. For example, in Zeno's paradox, Achilles seems to never catch up with the tortoise. However, when the underlying math of a convergent infinite series that converges to a finite number is understood, the paradox evaporates. A vertical paradox resolves itself if we ponder the proof. They seem absurd and have an explanation. For example, the Monty Hall game show problem that we'll cover later. An antinomy paradox is an incompatibility of two laws creating a crisis in thought. For example, the grandfather paradox, the liar's paradox, and the faint young sun paradox, where our young sun was 70% as bright as it is today, and the Earth should have only remained a frozen ball of water. The paradox of rationality is about players who make irrational or naive choices often receive better payouts than those making rational choices predicted by the backward induction of game theory. And it seems to show that there are benefits to rationality or seemingly irrational behavior. It is common in Nash equilibria games for players to be better off by choosing irrational strategies. So the paradox of rationality is sometimes called the rationality of irrationality. A paradox of rationality occurs when the individual rational strategy of a game produces an outcome that is less desirable for the players than if they had made less individually rational choices. It appears to show that there are benefits to acting irrationally. It suggests that either the choices that were made were not entirely rational, that they are not entirely individual choices, or perhaps some combination of the two. Economists have researched why behavior differs from the perfect rationality of game theory. And these alternative theories include behavioral economics, new institutional economics, and evolutionary economics. Let's take a look at three paradoxes of rationality in game theory. The first is the prisoner's dilemma, which is a classic game theory scenario to illustrate the tension between individual and collective rationality. Cooperation seems rational for mutual benefit, but individually defecting offers a guaranteed higher payout. Two prisoners, A and B, are caught for a minor crime. If they both confess, in other words, they both defect, they each get 5 years in jail. If one confesses or defects, and the other stays silent, cooperates, the defector goes free and the cooperator gets 20 years in jail. If they both stay silent, they both cooperate, they can only be convicted of the minor crime and each only gets 1 year in jail. If A believes B will confess, it's better for A to confess too and get a 5 year instead of B getting a 20-year sentence. So the same logic applies to B. Thus, when they both have an incentive to confess, even though the outcome, they each get 5 years, is worse than if they both cooperated 1 year each. It highlights the paradox of cooperation. Acting in individual self-interest can lead to a worse outcome for everyone involved. It has been used to understand price wars in economics, arms races in politics, and resource sharing in sociology. Next, let's consider the traveler's dilemma. Here, choosing a random route in a congested network can be faster than the rational shortest path choice due to the unintended coordination with others. In the diagram I drew, I show a starting city on the left, a destination city on the right, and the shortest distance marked by red roads going through a middle city in the north. And because many people take that shortest path because it's shortest, it creates congestion. And here I show a longer distance going through two other cities in the south, and going through an extra road is a longer distance, but because it's less congested, the actual travel time is shorter. And the last paradox of rationality we'll look at is the diner's dilemma. In this situation, diners have agreed to split the bill equally, and That incentivizes ordering more expensive items than people might have chosen individually, which leads to inefficiencies. So here in this diagram, we have four diners: Abe, Billy, Charlie, and David. Abe orders a hot dog, a $10 hot dog dish, and a $20 shrimp dish. Billy orders two hot dog dishes. Charlie orders two $20 shrimp dishes. And Dave orders a $20 shrimp dish and a $30 beluga caviar dish. So you see that Abe's total cost comes to $30, Billy's comes to 20, Charlie's comes to 40, and Dave's comes to $50. And because they choose to split the bill equally, their sum is $140 divided by 4 is $35 each. Billy ends up paying $15 more than he would have if he had just simply paid on his own, and Dave ends up paying $15 less than if he had paid on his own. In another category of paradoxes we'll look at are called paradoxes of strategy. These are situations where strategic planning and decision-making encounter seemingly contradictory or unexpected outcomes. Parrondo's paradox. Parrondo's paradox was discovered by Spanish physicist Juan Parrondo in 1996. It described a paradoxical situation where two losing strategies, when combined, can become a winning strategy. It has found applications in engineering, population dynamics, ecology, and financial risk. Explanatory examples for Parrondo's paradox often involve weighted coins with head and tail payouts that individually flipped only yield losing results. However, when the coins are flipped in sequence or even randomly, the combined tosses can produce a winning strategy yielding positive payouts. So in another simple example, let's consider two dice, one green and one orange, with the following rules. Every time you roll the green die, no matter what you get on the die, 1 through 6, you lose $1. And every time you roll the orange die, no matter what you get, you count how much money you have left. And if it is an even amount you have left, you'll win $3. Otherwise, you'll lose $5. And you start with $100. So if you start by rolling the green die exclusively, you'll obviously lose all your money in 100 rounds because you're losing $1 every time you roll the green die. And if you roll the orange die exclusively, you'll also lose all your money in 100 rounds. However, if you alternate rolling the die, starting with the orange die, then followed by the green, and then by the orange, and then by the green, you can see that with every pair, you'll earn a total of $2 with every go-around. So that leads to an overall winning strategy, even though rolling each die individually only leads to losing outcomes. Next, let's take a look at Braess's paradox. This regards adding one or more roads in a road network. The paradox arises when, in adding these roads to the overall traffic through the network slows down. The paradox was first discovered by Arthur Peugeot in 1920 and later named after German mathematician Dietrich Braess in 1968. The paradoxical outcome arises due to the selfish behavior of individual drivers seeking the shortest travel time, and that leads to an unintended collective outcome of worsened traffic flow. Braess's paradox has several real-world applications and implications, from traffic planning, which highlights the need for systematic analysis of network changes, considering their impact to overall traffic flow, not just individual routes. It applies to resource allocation, where adding resources, for example, servers or communication channels, to a system can sometimes overload it, which requires careful planning and coordination. It also applies to economic systems where similar phenomena can occur in markets or competition scenarios where individual actions aiming for profit can lead to overall inefficiencies. If you consider the simple example in the diagram here, where we have two cities, A and B, on the left, we have a total travel time of 30 minutes, whether you go on the north route of 20 and 10, or the southern route of 10 and 20, that they each yield 30 minutes. But drivers split their time going on the northern route or the southern route because they're the same. However, when we add a new route, that short distance in between the north and south intermediate cities, between A and B, that's a very appealing route, and a lot of people try to take it. So the problem is everybody wants to take that route, which leads to an overall travel time of 40 instead of 30. Next, we'll look at the Selten's chain store paradox, where offering a small discount to deter competitors from a chain store can backfire. and that leads to the chain store opening more stores due to misinterpreted signals. Reinhard Selten was a German economist who won the 1994 Nobel Memorial Prize in Economic Sciences. He shared that with John Harsanyi and John Nash. He's known for his work in bounded rationality and is one of the founding fathers of experimental economics. In 1978, Reinhard Selten showed an inconsistency between game theory predictions and seemingly more realistic human behavior. In a large established chain store, faces competition from smaller local stores. Game theory would suggest, through the backward induction approach, that in the final stage, the chain store could either undercut prices aggressively or not at all, peacefully. And if there's no competition, aggressiveness is best for higher profits. And then working backwards through backward induction in the earlier stage, knowing this, if a competitor enters in an earlier period, the chain store will definitely go aggressive and deter future entries. So the rational conclusion is that anticipating this aggressive response, potential competitors should never enter, making a peaceful option always optimal for the chain store in the initial stages. However, here the paradox arises. Why would the chain store never act aggressively in the final stage against a single competitor when it only gains a small profit while risking future competition? In reality, a plausible strategy might be to offer a small discount to the existing competitor, discouraging them from and signaling peacefulness to future entrants, leading to higher long-term profits. The paradox highlights the limitations of assuming perfect rationality in game theory because humans often consider factors beyond immediate payoffs. These include signaling intentions, where the initial peaceful action signals the chain store's commitment to avoid price wars, deterring future competition. It also highlights bounded rationality, which shows performing backward induction calculations are not necessarily realistic, making simpler heuristics like avoiding conflict more appealing and understandable. Reputation building, where a reputation for fairness can attract customers and discourage competition. The chain store paradox has sparked significant debate and led to several developments in game theory, including bounded rationality models, dynamic reputation building, and experimental validation. Next, we'll look at the Monty Hall Problem, which is a classic brain teaser with surprising implications for game theory. Here, a game show has you choose one of three doors, one of which is hiding a large prize, a car, and the other two are hiding goats. The host, who knows where the prize is, opens one of the unchosen doors, revealing a goat. He then offers you the chance for you first pick a door, and then he offers you a chance to switch your choice with one of the remaining unopened doors. So should you stay with your initial choice or switch? Intuitively, it seems that each door has a 1/3 chance of holding the prize, so switching wouldn't make a difference. However, the correct answer is the switch, and here's why. Initially, your chosen door has a 1/3 chance of having the prize, as does all the other doors. And the other two doors, though, combined have a 2/3 chance of winning the prize. So if you pick one door, that has a 33% chance of winning, and if you consider the other two doors together, that they have a 66% chance of holding the prize. So when the host reveals a goat behind one of the unchosen doors, he's essentially providing some free information about where the prize isn't. And that information changes the odds. The door you initially chose still remains unchanged with a 33% chance of holding the prize. The revealed goat door now is eliminated, so it has a 0% chance of holding the prize. And all the unchosen prize probability of 66% is now concentrated in that single remaining unopened door. In the paradox of thrift, if everybody tries to save in a recession, it can actually deepen the economic downturn because people are buying less, which leads to further recession as companies struggle to recover. During a recession, individuals feel insecure and increase their savings as a safety net. However, in aggregate, when everyone simultaneously saves more, it reduces aggregate demand in the economy. And this lower demand leads to reduced production and consequentially layoffs. Unemployed workers have less money to spend, further decreasing demand. The downturn in business discourages investment and hiring. In the last category of paradoxes in game theory, we'll look at or the paradoxes of knowledge. Knowledge is power most of the time. And here in the paradoxes of knowledge, you can encounter situations where knowledge can be a hindrance rather than a boon. In the knowledge paradox, we have within a game structure, Having more information can sometimes hurt or cause problems. So, for example, knowing exactly what your opponent might do might limit your strategic options. Imagine a four-player game where I want to collect different kinds of fruit. And the more different kinds of fruit I collect, the higher my score. And each turn, players secretly write down one fruit that they'd like to pick from a basket. The selections are revealed, and then if any two players have the same thing written down, both of those are discarded and they get nothing. Before anyone picks, however, all the other players secretly tell you one of two fruits that they might pick on their turn. And that knowledge artificially limits your choices and ultimately may lead to a more limited set of choices than you otherwise would have chosen. In the curse of knowledge, you know much more about a situation or a game than an opponent. And so when your knowledge exceeds your opponent, explaining your strategy can make it ineffective as they lack your understanding. And we see here Sherlock Holmes, the game is afoot, Watson. So we lead to a paradoxical situation of where knowing more doesn't necessarily help. And finally, in the volatility paradox, rational players in financial markets can, through their collective actions, create more volatility instead of stability. Though the volatility paradox is not strictly within the realm of game theory, it applies to financial economics and risk management. The volatility paradox suggests that periods of low market volatility can actually increase the risk of a future financial crisis. And this seems counterintuitive because logically less volatility implies stability and lower risk. The paradox, however, arises during periods of calm, which leads investors and institutions to engage in riskier behavior. This makes the system more vulnerable when a shock does occur. So it's fueled by increased risk taking, where a low volatility market makes investors complacent and potentially overconfident, encouraging them to invest in riskier assets or leverage their positions significantly, seeking higher returns. Reduced hedging occurs as volatility seems low. People neglect protective measures like hedging, leaving them exposed to unforeseen events. Institutional misjudgment or risk management models calibrated for low volatility may underestimate potential losses when large fluctuations do occur. So the consequences are then sudden and sharp market corrections because when a shock does hit, the system, which was built on the shaky ground of low volatility assumptions, can experience a more severe and rapid decline than anticipated. Furthermore, systemic risks occur from increased interconnectedness in the financial system, which amplifies the impact of individual failures, leading to widespread financial instability. The 2008 financial crisis is often cited as an example of the volatility paradox, where prolonged low volatility assumptions and investment behavior preceded a dramatic market crash. So that's it. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the paradoxes in game theory. Be sure to check out my other videos, and have a great day.